This lesson introduces The Proposal, a one-act farce by Anton Chekhov, written in the late 19th century. It opens with background on Russian wedding customs, such as the playful ransom of the bride and celebratory city tours. The play focuses on wealthy landowners who treat marriage as a financial arrangement, but are repeatedly sidetracked by their quarrelsome nature. When Ivan Lomov visits his neighbor Natalya to propose, the meeting dissolves into heated arguments over land boundaries and the merits of their hunting dogs. Despite insults and health scares, economic interest ultimately outweighs personal hostility. The lesson also encourages readers to compare these Russian customs with those in India. Imagine a romance turning into a battlefield in the blink of an eye. Look at that magnifying glass front and center. It is zooming in on the central mystery of why a romantic gesture explodes into chaos. The top secret stamp suggests we aren't just reading a play, but investigating a crime scene of broken hearts and bruised egos. By treating this as a case file, you will learn to look beneath the surface of the dialogue for the real culprit. This investigation sets the stage for understanding how comedy often hides serious human flaws. Before we judge the characters, we must meet the man pulling their strings. That profile picture introduces Anton Chekhov, a writer who used laughter to attack the greed of 19th century Russia. Notice the circled word farce and the notes on his mission. He isn't just writing a romance, he is mocking how wealthy families treat marriage like a business deal. Knowing his intention helps you realize that every ridiculous argument on stage is actually a calculated critique of society. He wants us to see that when greed leads the way, people act absurdly. Here is our lineup of suspects, and at first glance, they look quite respectable. Focus on the nervous man on the left, wiping sweat from his brow. His physical anxiety is the ticking time bomb of the play. Compare him to the father and daughter, whose motives are pinned right next to them, revealing they are desperate for a financial deal rather than a connection. These files are key because they show us that this marriage is driven by age, money, and social pressure, not romance. Their conflicting personalities are a recipe for disaster. Take a close look at our groom-to-be, and you will see a man on the verge of a nervous breakdown. The speech bubbles surrounding him are filled with complaints about twitching eyebrows and numbness rather than words of love. His testimony on the right reveals a cold logic. He is marrying because it is a critical age, not because he has found a soulmate. This visual profile explains why he is so easily triggered. He is too focused on his own health to handle even the slightest disagreement. This slide captures the dual nature of our bride, who swings wildly between desperation and aggression. Look at the illustrations showing her wailing for a husband one moment and pointing an accusing finger the next. The investigator's note at the bottom poses the real question: does she want a husband, or does she just want to win an argument? Recognizing this contradiction is essential for understanding why she sabotages her own proposal over a patch of grass. Her pride is clearly stronger than her desire for marriage. Beware the smiling host, for this dossier reveals he is wearing a mask. The central image of the father holding up a happy face while scowling behind it perfectly illustrates his hypocrisy. He calls Lomov an angel when he smells profit, but notice how quickly that shifts to villain in the text below when his property is challenged. This duplicity matters because it proves that for the older generation, manners are just a thin cover for greed and self-interest. He treats the proposal purely as a business opportunity. Trace the path of this disaster, starting from the polite engagement ring in the top left corner. Follow the red line as it hits the trigger of the oxen meadows, causing the polite conversation to instantly explode into chaos. The movement from a formal proposal to personal insults about family history shows just how fragile their social masks really are. This timeline is a perfect visual metaphor for how quickly pride can derail a life-changing moment. One mention of land turns a suitor into an enemy. Just when you think the dust has settled, look at how the cycle of conflict repeats itself with a new trigger. The comparison table at the bottom details the absurdly specific arguments over jaw length and pedigree between Guess and Squeezer. Notice the spark icon exploding again, Even after reconciling, they cannot resist the urge to prove they are superior. This slide proves that the topic of the fight doesn't matter. Their egos will always find a new battleground. It is not about the dogs, but about who is right. The chaos reaches its peak here, with icons showing a man collapsing and a woman screaming in panic. Yet, look at the illustration on the right. Despite the death and the threats of suicide, they end up clinking champagne glasses. The agreed stamp feels ironic because the father literally has to shove their hands together to force the union. This happy ending is actually a dark punchline, suggesting their marriage will be just as loud and combative as their courtship. Every good detective needs a motive board, and here is where we connect the dots between the characters' bad behavior. Follow the red string connecting marriage as a transaction to absurd pride. It shows how financial greed tangles with personal vanity. The scraps of paper pinned here reveal that the fighting isn't really about land or dogs, but about a desperate need to be right. Understanding these hidden connections helps you see Chekhov's bigger picture about how the upper class prioritizes profit over people. Writers are like carpenters, and here are the 3 specific hammers Chekhov uses to build his comedy. Notice that banana peel under farce. It's the perfect symbol for how characters slip from dignity into ridiculous physical chaos. The mask of satire and the opposing arrows of irony work together to show us the difference between who these people pretend to be and who they actually are. Mastering these 3 tools is essential because they are the secret ingredients that transform a simple argument into a masterpiece of humor. Put on your thinking cap because the investigation now turns to you. Look at that first question scribbled in the notebook. It challenges you to decide if a father's sweet words are genuine or just a mask for greed. The second note regarding the lovesick cat forces you to contrast what is said about Natalya with how she actually behaves when the fighting starts. Answering these prompts requires you to dig into the text for proof, a skill that separates a casual reader from a top-tier literary analyst. To crack this case, you need to speak the language of the suspects. Glance at that stack of dictionaries on the left. Words like pettifogger and palpitations aren't just old-fashioned terms, but the specific weapons the characters hurl during their meltdown. The flags on the right remind us that the overly sweet endearments, like "my angel," are cultural artifacts from the original Russian text. Decoding this vocabulary is crucial because it reveals the hilarity of mixing intense insults with flowery, polite society language. When you step into the exam hall, you are essentially stepping into a courtroom to present your findings. Follow the path from the map of the oxen meadows to the sketches of the dogs. This is your roadmap for proving that pride destroys relationships. The gavel near the bottom signifies your final conclusion, where you must deliver a verdict on whether these characters truly love each other or just love winning. Structuring your thoughts like this legal argument ensures your essay is as convincing as a winning lawyer's closing statement. The jury is back, and the final judgment is stamped right across the top of the file. Look at the section labeled "The Core Issue," which exposes how obsession with trivial property destroys human connection. The summary here strips away the jokes to reveal the sad truth that these characters value their egos more than their happiness. This takeaway is vital because it transforms the play from a simple comedy into a serious warning about the dangers of stubbornness. If this lesson helped you, please like and share it with others who may benefit. Subscribe to Pragnya Education for more clear, concept-driven learning. Keep learning, keep growing with wisdom.